I often get asked to recommend my favorite cookbooks. Cookbooks for your friends, family, or maybe the holiday season that can be used by experts and beginners alike. Now, there's a lot of cookbooks out there, and most of them are complicated, hard to follow. They don't have a lot of detailed information or even pictures, and they don't necessarily always produce what they're promising, and your recipes may not turn out that great. So in this video, I'm going to recommend my favorite cookbooks that will be a great addition as a gift to friends and families and will help you make amazing recipes. Let's dive in. So I really want to make a video just dedicated to cookbooks. Over the years, I've came across a lot of great cookbooks. Some of them are classics that you're going to recognize right away, but there's a reason why I like these particular books, because they cater to beginners and experts alike. And they have a lot of great information that will help you cook better, learn more about cooking, make great food, and you can customize them and change them a bit to your specific needs that will just increase the fun of cooking. So I like these books because they're detailed, they give a lot of great background, there's a lot of great pictures, it's easy to follow, and they make great food. Now up front, a lot of these cookbooks I'm going to be recommending are actually by America's Test Kitchen. I am not sponsored by them in any way, shape, or form, but I do like them. I think they do a great job of setting up the reader for success. And overall, I think it's a great value for your money. So, I'm not sponsored by them, but you're going to see occasionally a couple of books in here that I think are fantastic. The first book I wanted to talk about, you've seen me mention it before, but if you're a wok lover and you're looking for an Asian cookbook, I highly recommend Stir Frying to the Sky's Edge by Grace Young. Grace Young does a great job of setting up the user. She even goes over some cultural techniques that are going to help you cook better. She talks about woks, how to season your wok, how to store and maintain your wok, and in general what you could expect from woks. And she makes a couple of recommendations based on her favorite woks and carbon steel versus stainless steel and so forth. This book is loaded with pictures. It has great, authentic recipes. Every recipe I tried out of here was straight to the point. It reminded me of something familiar, and I can't say good enough things about this book. The pictures are wonderful, the details are wonderful, it's easy to follow, and I think it should be on your bookshelf. She also does a great job of giving you different recipes. You're not just stuck with the, familiar things that you would find in a typical cookbook. She gives you all of that familiar stuff that we all love, chow mein, orange chicken, beef and broccoli, whatever. But she also gives you really authentic recipes that dives you deeper. They get a little bit more complex. And then she's also included some desserts, some breakfast items, rice, soup, sides, other things. Not just a traditional beef, pork, chicken, and so forth. I highly recommend this book, and I think it comes in at under $15. Pick it up if you can. Now, if you're on a diet, I have a book for you, and this one has actually been a pretty good buy. I found it at the bookstore, and then I fell in love with it because there's a couple recipes in here that are my go-to recipes. It's called the Primal Gourmet Cookbook, and it's by Ronnie Joseph Levosky. This is a really good book, and it does provide a lot of details. It has a bit of a spin to it. It provides delicious recipes with a health-conscious mind to it. It's heavily influenced by Middle Eastern dishes, Mediterranean dishes, for the author's ultimate goal and purpose of being health-conscious and, diet-friendly. The book does do a good job of going into the details and providing a lot of information, good pictures, but it doesn't have quite as much detail as you would expect from America's Test Kitchen or even Grace Young, but I still think it's a great book to pick up. What I really like about this book is it also has some traditional older recipes like a steak Oscar. Now, he's done a variation of it where he's, again, tried to keep it health conscious, but it's delicious. If you follow the book's recipes to the T, you're going to get good results. You can see it's not as detailed as I'm used to, but it still provides a lot of good detail. A lot of the recipes in this book I've tried, but I've tweaked a little bit. I've added my own little spin on things, and that's normal. As you become better at cooking, as you enjoy cooking a little bit more, you can kind of deviate, and you'll know how to deviate and enhance the dish based on what you're looking for. I actually did that with the short ribs. It's actually based on the recipe from this book, but I kind of tweaked it a little bit and added my own little Mediterranean spin on things. Okay, as I said earlier, there's a couple of books by America's Test Kitchen that I want to recommend. I think they're great books. The first one, based on the last book that we just got done talking about, is actually the Complete Mediterranean Cookbook. And this is a complete cookbook. I am actually pretty impressed by America's Test Kitchen and what they were able to jam pack in here. They do advertise it as 500 vibrant kitchen-tested recipes for living and eating well for everyday use. You go over sides like rice, salads, breakfast items, seafood, lamb, chicken, beef, grilling, using your skillets, being health conscious, or tweaking meals to making them easier with easier ingredients that you can find on a day-to-day basis. This is a great book. Again, America's Test Kitchen does go into a lot of detail, which is what I really like about it. But in the beginning of the book, they also dive into the background or the philosophies behind Mediterranean foods, Middle Eastern foods, recipes, so forth. It's a good read. And if you're into meal planning, meal prepping, there's a section on that too. So this is a great book for you health-conscious people that want to explore the Mediterranean diet and additional spices that you may have not used previously. A Mediterranean book, a Middle Eastern book, is really going to grow your cooking skills and open up a whole new world. The next book is also by America's Test Kitchen, and it's titled Masters of the Grill. This is a good barbecue grill book that you can reference, keep in your cabinet or keep on your bookshelf for those occasions where you want to try something new, maybe try a recipe that's a little bit different, or just to kind of push the boundaries of your grilling skills. I like this book. A lot of it to me is kind of knowledge I already knew, but it dives in really deep and gives you a lot of beginner details. For a lot of you that may have never used a barbecue grill before, it even talks about choosing your grill, gas versus pellet versus charcoal. That's the kind of detail that you can expect. There's a vegetarian section, obviously grilling meats, chickens, beef, pork, lamb, and so forth. It even talks about desserts and baking using your barbecue and specialty items that you could buy to convert your barbecue into something a little bit more useful. Again, I think this is a great reference book, but for me, it's a little bit more stuff that I already know, but I still pick it up from time to time when I'm feeling I need a little bit of inspiration or I want to be inspired by something or just to brush up on the fundamentals. If you're a barbecuer and you're looking for a good book, this is a great book to start your barbecue journey. Likewise, another one from America's Test Kitchen is The Best Mexican Recipes. If you want to be a good cook and you want to learn how to cook efficiently, effectively, there's certain recipe books that need to be on your bookshelf. I think a Middle Eastern, Mediterranean book is a good idea, an Italian book, a French book, and a Mexican book. Mexican recipes are delicious. Again, they're going to expand your cooking experience. They're going to open you up to ingredients that you may have not even known about or would have considered trying, and you're going to learn some great techniques. Birria, for example, is a great recipe to learn. Birria will test your abilities to mix ingredients and spices correctly and your fundamentals regarding searing, braising, and so forth. This book is very similar to all the other America's Test Kitchen books that I've recommended. In the beginning, you're going to get detailed chapters regarding ingredients, techniques, culture, things that you're going to expect, and then they dive right into the recipes. A lot of the recipes are authentic. Some of them have an American spin to them, but they will always recommend an authentic ingredient or the authentic way, and then they'll give you alternatives to, for most of us out there that may not have access to some of these ingredients. That's a common theme with all of the cookbooks that I'm recommending by America's Test Kitchen, but this one's extra special to me because I have so many recipes that I've learned out of this cookbook that I use now as my go-to recipes. For you chili fans out there, you'll find a recipe for chili. There's also a lot of authentic traditional recipes that have been passed down from generation to generation, and they have captured that. Not to mention some classics and spins on classics that are absolutely delicious. There's even a section for breakfast, and I gotta tell you, if you want an amazing breakfast, there's a Mexican recipe in there that's just gonna blow your mind away, and you're gonna be a very happy person to start off your day. So, really good recipes in there, desserts as well. Check out this cookbook. Now, if you want to dive in deeper to the Middle Eastern cuisine, there's actually one Lebanese book that I highly recommend, A Taste of Beirut. This is very traditional. Now, it's a little bit rough around the edges. It's kind of hard to follow from time to time, and you're going to learn some very authentic recipes. So if you want a very Middle Eastern driven book where you're going to get, desserts and breakfasts that you've never heard of, this is the book for you. And I think Lebanon makes some of the best Middle Eastern food out there. She goes over simple traditions like pickling, and of course some modern traditions like baking. Well, you'll find some meat pizzas, for example, and I'm loosely quoting that. And who can forget beef shawarma? So check this book out if you're looking to dive deeper into the Middle Eastern culture. So what if you're just starting out, or maybe you're just cooking for two? What book would I highly recommend? Well, it's another America's Test Kitchen book, and this one's conveniently titled The Complete Cooking for Two Cookbook. And this is one that I would say is a must-have. Now, this is more traditional American or Western style recipes, hamburgers, steaks, things like that, but there's a twist. And it's very complete. If you want a health conscious section, it has one. It gives you a lot of alternatives to other recipes and other ways of doing it, cheaper, healthier, and so forth. But it's really focused on beginners and for cooking for two. You're gonna find a lot of great tips about skillets, about cast iron and stovetops, electric versus induction, knife techniques. It's really complete. I mean, try to think of this as a beginner's cookbook that can take you to more advanced or more intermediate style of cooking where you can really hone in your skills and increase that skill set. If you want to cook for more people, just add more ingredients, and they talk about that. This is a great cooking for two cookbook and a great introduction. I still reference it from time to time, and I think you should have a copy of this in your bookshelf. This is one of those cookbooks that just kind of takes care of everything, especially if you're first starting out and you're a beginner. It's also really nicely presented and packaged. It makes a great gift. So if you're looking to buy this for someone else, this is a good book to consider. And you're gonna find a common theme where they're gonna go step by step in regards to technique and how to do something very specifically. There's a lot of traditional common recipes in here, but overall, it's a fantastic cookbook that has a great presence on your bookshelf. And finally, there's one more cookbook that I need to recommend, and it's a legend. You've probably seen this cookbook before. My grandma had one. I'm sure your mom and dad have a copy somewhere. Julia Child. Julia Child's Mastering the Art of French Cooking. This is a classic book, and Julia Child is a celebrity in the cooking industry. She's a legend. I think everybody had a copy of this growing up. And this was definitely a staple in the American kitchen. I know a lot of people in America had this. I know it was, extremely, extremely popular in Europe. There is a movie on her in regards to this cookbook. And back in the day, a lot of people were trying every single recipe. There's a famous person, actually, the movie's based on her, where she had a blog where she was actually, doing every single recipe and posting her journey. So people kind of carried on that tradition. I know people today that buy this book and attempt that because of the movie. And because of the influence that Julia Child had. She had a lot of cooking shows and so forth. Now, why am I recommending this book? Because it's traditional French cooking. I mean, she really does go into the traditions behind everything, but it was also the first cookbook to start it all. In the beginning, you're gonna get an introduction and a how-to background and so forth. Just like America's Test Kitchen, I think they were influenced by this book. It's not as modern day. You're not going to find any actual pictures. You're going to find a lot of illustrations. The recipe will follow that, older kind of style, but it is detailed and it does walk you through the process. Every time I pick up this book, I just get this nostalgia, right? You just get transferred back in time, and I can still see the stains on my grandma's book, where she would follow the recipes to the T. It has a lot of sentimental value, but it has a lot of importance and culinary value. You're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn a lot of French recipes and French techniques, which arguably is kind of the staple of cooking. I would probably rate this book as a beginner to an expert book. It's something that you're going to start off with and you want to strive to learn more and become more of an expert. This is a great book that gives you all of the basics that you're going to need. I can't stress that enough. Let me actually give you an example of what I mean exactly. In the beginning, there's a whole section devoted to cutting and cutting techniques and best practices. You can see here that the information is very valuable, talking about slicing and dicing, how to hold a knife, proper knife techniques, but it's illustrations. It's not pictures, right? It definitely gives you that nostalgic feel. Now, as you actually go through the recipes, there's not a lot of pictures again, and it's very straightforward. You have your measurements off to the left, tells you exactly how many people it's intended for, to feed 6 people, 3 people, 4 people. And then she goes into the steps. A lot of the steps will reference previous chapters, like what's, for example, braising, or what does she mean by searing? She'll highlight searing and say, hey, refer to this in an earlier chapter. As you advance through the book, it's kind of expected that you've retained the previous chapters, and then she just kind of references back to them to save some time. So this is definitely a book that you want to advance through. and try to follow. And it kind of makes sense. That's probably why a lot of people try to do every single recipe from beginning to end and document their journey. With that being said, how are the actual recipes? Are they delicious? Yes, they are. Some of it's a little bit more French and a little bit more out there, something that you probably are not used to. This is a great book by a great chef that's a legend, and I think it belongs in everybody's bookshelf. Okay, so as you can see, I really did try to make an effort to give you books that I thought were complete, a good value, that would entertain the idea of introducing things to a beginner, but also helping you progress onwards and upwards and not just limit you to, you know, that beginner stage. I wanted to give you guys books that I believed in, that I trust in, that gave a lot of background information, gave you guys techniques, great recipes that you could follow, but also got you out of your comfort zone, right? I've recommended Middle Eastern, Mediterranean, French. There's a couple books that I haven't recommended that are amazing. I want to get a Italian book. I think Italian is another great culture that really influenced the restaurant industry and cooking in general. And I really want something that I can reference and try to stick to, you know, being authentic in that way. As you buy these books, they're going to hone your skills. Now, some of you may make the argument that, why do I need a book for? I can just follow a YouTube video. And I don't want you guys to turn my channel off. I want you guys to watch my channel, of course, but having a book that you can reference and just grab, read, follow, mark your own little notes there, change it and make little variations of it for your specific needs, make it into your own and write on there and then hand it over to your kids as a reference, as a guide, is invaluable. Knowledge is power. Books are important. I think cooking is no different. So that's why I wanted to recommend these books to you guys. Obviously, if you have a favorite, please post it in the comments below. I would love to hear which cookbooks you love, which cookbooks were passed down to you, and which cookbooks you recommend to everyone else. That's it for me, guys. I hope you found this video informative. Check out some of my other videos, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care, everybody. Hey, everybody. I really hope you enjoyed that video. Please support the channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing with your family and friends. Follow us on social media and check out our new merchandise store. And above all, thank you for supporting this channel and thank you for watching.